Hello. I've been wanting to make this video, but it's been a tough one to make. I can never seem to finish it. I think I tried like 10 times yesterday and it just did not happen. I'm gonna try to get through this. This is like try number 4 today. So anyways, a year ago, it is March 11th and the anniversary of the earthquake. And a year ago, I was sitting in my living room. It was about 9, 10 o'clock at night. Thinking about going to bed. I was watching TV with my oldest brother, and I had my computer, so I was on Facebook. And my friend in Tokyo replied that he was okay. And I was just kind of like, why are you okay? As you could see, like, there was a big quake a little bit before the actual huge quake. But then it turned out another quake had happened. So, I told my brother and we watched CNN and just saw everything unfold. I was sitting there in awe with the tsunami, like just sweeping across the fields, and then you see the cars trying to get away, and like my brain didn't want to register that those are human beings in those cars, you know? But I was worried about my friends in Hawaii too. I mean, obviously I was worried about my friends in Japan. And I was worried about my friends in Hawaii. I had friends in Santa Cruz too, so I knew the tsunami was coming to the west coast. And after seeing what it just did to Japan, there's no way to assume it wouldn't be anything once it hit us. There was some damage in Santa Cruz. I believe one person up the coast lost their life because they thought they were going to get a picture of the tsunami when it came in. Uh, One of the most interesting things, because I was glued to Twitter and Facebook and getting all the information I could, and I took a 2-hour nap at 6 in the morning, and I woke up at 8, I think, when the tsunami was due to hit us. So, I stayed glued to the TV the rest of the week, you know? Um, one of the things that amazed me was how much information was like transferred and how fast it was, like at your fingertips, due to social media. And right now this thing is counting down. I am officially living in Japan on the 7th, and those are still a lot of aftershocks, but I'll talk about that later. Anyways, I was slightly worried that, or I was worried, but obviously there were more important things to worry about. But I was worried that I would my intake for Interact would be canceled and I wouldn't be able to go to Japan. But at the same time, I wanted to hop on the next plane and go over to Japan and help. But a good friend of mine kind of talked me out of that and, like, stay sensible. So Interact then needed a lot of recovery teachers to come over to replace those who went home. And in fact, the girl who was in my position before went home the day of the quake after, I'm sure everyone was okay. And she never went back to the schools, and she went back to Canada or something like that as soon as she could. I actually had to clear out her shoes in my cubby. So, yeah, so I took up their offer on that to come to Japan and be placed in the more northern area of Japan, like here somewhere. But yeah, when I first came to Japan, there were quakes every day. As you can see, they just happen constantly, and this is even in October. They've died down since. And actually, I was watching well, I recently got cable, and the History Channel is showing some like anniversary shows or things about the quake and mega quakes and things like that. So I was watching that, and then I was watching and catching up on Meaphe's videos. And she kept talking about like graduation and oh this and that, and then she talked about last year, and it dawned on me that she was here in Japan last year. Not only was she here in Japan last year, she was also vlogging at the point the earthquake happened. She had her camera out and she was capturing something else. And watching that video, and especially knowing, working here now and knowing what it, like, I have, I can't imagine what it would have been like. But her video, like, once the quake, and if you've never been in a quake, in a serious quake, I lived through the '89 quake in San Francisco. There's a point where the quake is just too much for comfort, and it's just comes like there were tons of quakes when I got here, and I really became numb to earthquakes. Just like, oh, it's shaking again, whatever. So there's a point where it passes that comfort zone, and it's just scary. And there's also a link too that like, oh, this is going on too long. So, anyways, she went to the door jam, as we're all good Americans are trained to do during an earthquake. And I come from California, and that's what they tell us to do: go to a door jam. Anyways, she went to the door jam, and you can hear down the hall the kids screaming. They were scared. No one was hurt where she was filming and everything, but just like the fear. And then she was really scared too, and it was just kind of hard to watch, but it really said something about her character that um, she was reluctantly went home for a couple of weeks, go visit the parents and say, look, you can touch me, I'm fine, can I go back? And so the fact that she went and then came back, it just shows how much strength she has, and kind of, you know. So anyways, I watched all that, and I live in northern Ibaraki Prefecture. And in northern Ibaraki, we have a lot of quakes. Within a couple of miles or like 3 kilometers of where I am is a fault that's pretty active right now. And those really shake up. They're like shallow quakes that shake up my apartment. November the 20th last year, there was a sizable, I think it was a 5.5 on it. And it shook up my apartment. Plates broke. My fridge came out from the wall, so my olive oil fell behind the fridge and broke, and I had to clean that up. Um, but that scared me. That quake scared me. Like when it was happening, it got past that comfort zone, and I actually kind of went like squeaked a little, like ah. But after that, whenever the earth shook again, and it happens a lot here, uh, it's just like my heart would stop for a second, just like, oh, okay. But I'm starting to get numb again. Anyway, so it wasn't last night, but the night before. So the night of the 9th, early morning of the 10th. I was up until 1:30 watching her video and her videos after about the quake, and then watching stuff on History Channel and whatnot. And about under an hour, because I went to bed, it was probably about 1:30. At 2:25, there was another quake on my local fault. It was like, what, 5.5, and it woke me up. And at first I thought it was a dream, and I told myself when I was going to bed, and that was the last thing I watched, that like you're gonna have nightmares about it. And I can see right now it's 1:42, and so it's about an hour until the actual anniversary of the quake. I'd like to get this up by then. So yeah, that woke me up, and it's my daily life. And I've talked to one of the people who has been hired to come to my city, and I let her know. I'm like, it's nothing to be scared of, because they're usually small. But we do have a lot of quakes. It's just a fact. And I talked to local people, like teachers I work with and whatnot, if this is normal. Like, is it just Ibaraki gets a lot of earthquakes? And they said, no, we get some quakes, but not as many as we have now. So it's just one of the after effects of the quake last year. It is dying down. I actually felt a little quake this morning. I don't know how big that was, but I think that was more out to sea. Yeah, I'm getting actually pretty good at guessing the magnitude of the quakes and whatnot and where they were. If they're out to sea down by Mito, out to sea up by Fukushima, or on my local fault. But it's just life right now. See, again, I'm getting to that point where I don't know what to say, and I don't know what else I could say. But I will say I still see the fear in everyone's eyes. I felt like it was almost a taboo topic, and maybe that's why I'm having such a hard time talking about this, because I feel like I shouldn't be talking about it. I wasn't here in Japan at that point. Uh, but I've asked some questions. Like, I know where parts of the city are sea level, that the houses there were damaged. The house right behind me, the roof was damaged, and they finally had that fixed. So I live in it, and I know it happened. And it's just like there's this air around you, and when there's a quake, and I could see it, like how fast the teachers turn on the TV when we have a sizable earthquake at schools, because they want to know, oh, how big was that one? Where was it? And you could just feel the air. Um, I talked with a couple of kids. They weren't my students. I think they went to my school, but they were younger than the 5th and 6th years I taught. And they were like, who are you? Why are you here? And I'm like, I teach at the school and everything. And the topic of the earthquake came up. I think they asked me if the earthquake scared me. And I said, no. And I said, well, what about you? And they're like, no, they're not scared of earthquakes. And then I asked, well, what about the big earthquake? And they said, no, big earthquake, that wasn't scary. I'm like, oh, okay. What about the tsunami? And their face changed so fast. It was like that I saw it instantly in their eyes. And for me, 3/11 is not a marker on my life, like say 9/11, where you have life before and life after, and it's a event that just kind of sticks. It's not as much of a marker. I mean, it, it does have an effect on my life, but because I wasn't actually here, like, even I was just watching Molly's video and Tomoko talking about their experience down in Shizuoka, that I don't have that story. I was sitting on the couch safe in California, and I had some worries about the tsunami coming over, but we knew that it wasn't really going to do that much damage. So it doesn't have as much of a marker as I can see on my students. When we have small earthquakes, I can really see it. See, again, like I said, I'm at this point. But you know what? I'm determined to finish this and upload this right now. Okay, guys. I know this was long. I'm sorry. But, one of the most amazing things about 3/11 was how fast information was exchanged, and people were able to go on Facebook and Twitter and whatnot and say they were okay when they couldn't make phone calls. So it's just amazing. I mean, like, 9/11 brought such documentation of that event. I mean, we had filmmakers in the towers that in this case, just shared information, and how fast you're able to find out if people are okay. And I remember all the news stories of people talking through Skype and reporting and saying, well, I was doing this and I was doing that. And it's amazing. It's a lot to think about. Okay, guys, until next time. Ja.